With demonic as the theme, and this being the spooky month of October, who else would be a better pick for Black Clover's demon than the Word Devil, the sad demon who didn't even get a name, though he did get the entire first part of the series given to him as it was all tied around events of his entire plan. Because throughout the beginning of Black Clover, it was laid out that, the elves were bad, sorta, the Eye of the Midnight Sun were bad guys, but then we found out about how it seemed to be, not actually of their originating problem, that they were the bad guys. It seemed much more like the humans were bad. But we knew from the stories given for both the human side and the elf side that there were pieces missing, and there were pieces there that needed to be there to make sense of everything. And it was really not that one side was good and one side was bad. It's that both sides were good and bad. It entirely builds up to this perspective of which side you're on, because really they were just being manipulated, and there were both sides that were in the wrong, but obviously neither side was really the real cause of it. It was this demon who was just whispering into the ears of people, trying to get a plan going. And the Black Clover demons, so far from what we understand, they're much more like kind of classical demons. How they're liars, they're silver tongued, they're two faced. They're always just trying to trick people into getting what they want. And here we had the word devil, because we never actually got a name for him. That was actually one of the things that was noted when he died, is that he didn't need to have a name, because the anti-magic devil was just like, you lost and losers don't get much. And then he just decayed away. Now, the character himself was interesting. I think a lot of people missed the point of what Tabata was going for him. There were a lot of people that were talking about, like, oh, this character, he's got a lot of build up, but he didn't have a lot to, like, his personality. Like, we got a straightforward face of what he was like. There was, like, complaints of his fight, like, taking a while, which so many longer fights in Shonen. But the character, keep in mind, he wasn't supposed to be some super complex, like, long strung out opponent. He was this demon who was, the cause of all these issues. This devil that was all around just about manipulation and getting people to, fall along the steps of his path for his scheme, because he wanted to get his own physical body, get a five-leaf grimoire, because we got a lot of world lore given about, like, how five-leaf grimoires happen. We found out, the origins of demon, the big old devil from chapter one that attacked the Clover Kingdom. The first Magic Emperor, Lumiere, and the events that all transpired around that. We got a lot of really good lore and backstory thanks to this character. But the thing that people, I think, missed, not everybody obviously, but a lot of people missed about this character, is he was supposed to just show off the raw level on display of what a devil is like in Black Clover, because it took them multiple, like, top tier characters. It took Lumiere, it took Licht, you got Demon, kind of fallen into depravity Patriot, who's, up there as well. You had Yami in there, Asta, and there were a lot of pretty powerful characters, all with, like, fighting this guy. And the only reason they were able to take him out is because they had a, set up smart strategic, like, layout and anti-magic. And it was cool because the main character, even though he was the, ending factor that they needed to defeat this guy, it wasn't just, like, solely up to him. There were a lot of characters that really contributed. You had Licht and Lumiere doing their thing. You had Yami's big, like, opening slash. You had kind of helping broaden the opening for Asta to get in, and then Asta getting that big black divider slash cutting this guy down. But he was a really interesting character, because I like that with the Devils and Black Clover right now. Seemingly, what we're getting is they're much more like, again, those silver tongue whispers that are just trying to, trick you. They're promising you a bunch of hollow words in order for them to, get whatever they're getting. Because, like, he was just moving people along to get his physical body. The full extent of what he was planning, we don't know. Like, the demons are obviously demons. They're ageless, seemingly. Like, this guy didn't even look like he had a real body. It was just like a heart with a mouth on it. And as long as that survived, he could just grow his body back. Like he was getting limbs cut off, and it didn't even phase him. So I'm guessing that's going to be a normal trait of demons. Is really they don't have much of a physical body, or at least not much of an absolute body. It's really just whatever their core is, and you have to destroy whatever their core is in order to defeat them. But he was really as an opponent, because like people were talking about how long the chapters. It was only like a 10, 11 chapter fight. Like I think like 13 if you count the what's it like 90 or 196, 197. Then I think he left to 198, and then it was against a depraved Patriot at that point. Because Patriot, going a little crazy. But like he was just supposed to be. Obviously, he's got this whole backstory over pretty much why so many of the events in the series happened. He's just supposed to be that tie-in while also introducing demons, while also introducing all this other lore stuff. But the devil guy, the largest thing about him was just to this. Well, the largest thing in terms of like him post, reveals of all these plot twists was to show exactly what level you can expect from a devil. And there, you always got something in these series that is like their big thing. You got something that's just like, the presence of one is going to be huge. Maybe it's not the absolute highest, but it's the one that you probably would most associate with. Like Naruto, you have the tailed beast, fairy tale, you got dragons, anything like that, where it's like any of these characters, I guess like you roll over into like, let's like Bleach, like Iran cards. I mean, I'm sure there's, we got stuff in all those series where there's something above it. There could easily be something above demons and devils. But this is one of those things where it's like now that we know how powerful one of these guys are, the second another one shows up onto the scene, they're going to be devastating. Like I said, like what if I've mentioned this before in the reviews I did of the chapters of that whole portion of the series. Like imagine we get a part in the series where you get some group, some villain organization, some antagonist crew, and it's revealed they're all demons, and there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. However many, any more than one is really like, wow, that's a threat. But if you just had like, hey, look at these, half dozen demons or something. Look, cool. We're gonna see a lot of cool bad guys. Prior to the introduction of the word devil, it would have just been like, damn, that's really cool. I wonder what they're going to be like. But when we know the full level of extent that this guy had, it just tells you like how dangerous this is going to be. Like the amount of effort that's going to go down in order to all these guys. When you had one devil who could straight alter, like low tier alter reality with his words. He could just say something and it would happen. Obviously, you couldn't just tell someone to like implode and your body would explode. But I did like his more like actual demonic spells where he straight up just would he would straight just call stuff over from the other dimension, and he brought like these big weird like mana deteriorating leeches that ended up like growing into these like hooked mouth Beetlejuice monsters, and there's like claws and spikes and tendrils all coming out of them. He did a really good job of just giving off the sheer level of presence. I think that was one of the really important things. And when you first introduce one of these big things, they have to be devastating. Again, like for example, at over in Fairy Tale, the first time we really see a dragon, though he was the strongest dragon, he's still a dragon. Logia back on Sirius Island, and no matter what the characters did, it looked like they're all having their group banding together team moments, and they didn't stand a chance. Obviously, like one day in Black Clover, we're gonna have the characters being able to like Austin, are gonna be able to fight a devil one-on-one, but that's a long way down the line. Obviously, you got characters progression and how strong they'll get later on, but that's way later on. I mean, look at something again. There's something like I said, Naruto. Look at like a tailed beast, like the level they were at, like way earlier. Obviously, now it's not a big thing. You got the weird alien chakra moon people, but like I said, something could come in Black Clover to be above them. Like when you got like Nephilim stuff, you got all these like weird in between angel and devils. Again, it's the full level of kind of like worlds and story aspect that this guy pulls in along with him. Because it wasn't just, hey, look, I'm a bad guy. It's like, hey, I've opened this entirely new like domain for characters and story. Because we have a whole other dimension now. We have a whole other dimension. But also now we're finding out that the devils, there's not just like, oh yeah, the devil was in the Diamond Kingdom as well. No, the devils are scattered. Like we don't know how many there are. We don't know how many really like how much they're influenced. Like we just saw in the last chapter a map that showed like, oh yeah, these are places with like people who have been cursed by devils, and you had like just small ones scattered all around the Clover Kingdom. You had a couple big ones. We know that there's one in the Heart Kingdom. So the devils really, I mean, their influence can be worldwide. We haven't seen a lot of the Black Clover world at large. Like we've only really saw the Clover Kingdom and then a couple pieces of the other countries within the same continent. We don't know how many continents. We don't know what's beyond the Spade Kingdom. But I think it's safe to assume that the devils have been low key affecting things like everywhere. They have that just all around level of reach with their actions. So like this dude, I think he 100% served his purpose. I don't think there's anybody that would be like best. He's the best villain in the series. The thing about Black Clover that is, I try to bring up whenever people talk about like you got the villains. I mean, if you want to talk about antagonists, that's one thing, but villains, great like bad guys. Black Clover was much more kind of like set up for the most part to make you think the elves were the bad guys, but in reality, it was kind of like messed up on both parts of the humans and the elves, and it wasn't entirely their fault. They were all being manipulated by this guy. But he wasn't supposed to, like I said, be some like long drawn out complex like villain that has like all this backstory about how he got to where he is. He's got all these plans and whatnot, all this like level of deeper roots to his character and a lot of the things to look at. It's like, no, this guy's a straightforward, like big, like a story affecting bad guy, and you guys have to defeat him now, or then it's over. Now, it's not like we could get in the future. Maybe we'll get like a much more tame devil, one that's more like large scale plans, more subtle nudges and moves and actions. The Word Devil was just kind of crazy. We've got one name. We got Megicula, and then also the Anti Magic Devil, who seems to be different than the other ones. Because I did really like that part in the Alpha Resurrection arc where the Word Devil was like saying like I don't really know which demon you are to the Anti Magic Devil, and he's like, but you need to know your superiority, and you need to know your place in my superiority, pretty much. So there's obviously a hierarchy of demon devils, but we don't know exactly how many there are. We don't know, their ranking. I mean, as far as we know, this guy could be like a mid-level demon. He could be like near the top. He could be one of the lower ones. Again, don't know. But interesting enough, I'm really looking forward to when we get more information on devils. If they peer back and talk about this guy, maybe we find out a little bit about him in relation to other devils. Maybe we could get a name. Like maybe like he's like, oh yeah, he's probably one of the most rash devils we have. He's one of the ones that is easiest to anger, easiest to kind of like get flustered. Because near the end, obviously he had that kind of he's getting mad because he kind of screwed himself over by toying with the humans and whatnot. If he just went all out from the start, or just like decided to ignore them and just get out, he probably would have been fine. But it was that underestimation of humans that really kind of screwed him over, and elves rather, because he was very full of himself, very sure that it wasn't going to be a problem, and he just kept kind of getting messed up. He should have just unleashed that big weird leech monster and then just said like, all right, I'm out, and then just left. But fun guy, fun cool character. I like him. He's not like, oh, some amazing super awesome dude. I'll go over like how much I love like Mark Geary Day, but I have a lot of reasons why I can talk about. But this guy again, he's a solid character. He's a solid bad guy. He had a solid run, and all around, like I think he was a really great way to introduce the Devils, because this guy was the first one. The first one really was the one to set a precedence against all future ones, and we got that. These guys are extremely intelligent and tactical when it comes to whispering in the shadows, and they're extremely powerful, and their magic not only is like high level, but the effects of them are really weird and complicated as well. Like again, word magic. Like just dude can just say something and he can make I think that the fact that when he did like his what Storm of Swords, he could make swords that were both magic and physical, just like straight like a normal sword. I thought that was probably one of the more interesting aspects to his power, because the fact he could distinguish like which ones were straight just swords and which ones were magically like created, straight reality, low key reality warping, really. Other than that, well, tell me thought about this character. Yeah, like a lot of people I think didn't like him because they're were expecting like a much deeper character, but that's not what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to just be this display of how much of a threat a devil is. I'm sure that Tabata's not going to do this with every devil, probably just the first one, because really you couldn't do a lot with him beyond this. You'd have to have a lot more flashback because there was no like him getting away or him getting captured kind of thing. You find out this one was all around like he has to die here and now or you're all screwed. Other than that, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the video, turn the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. From that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.